Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody can hear me. So, I'm Rishi Yadav. This is my first time in Atlanta in my lifetime. So, interesting place. So, today we are going to talk about Roost as environments as a service. I'm not going to do any product demo or anything. I'll just talk about some of my life stories and how my experiences have shaped the product the way it is. So anyway, let's get started here. So pre-production environments, as we know today, they have become the Achilles heel for modern cloud native application development, and we'll talk more about that. But little bit more about me. Graduated from IIT Delhi. Over 2 decades back. Started 2 companies. My last company was into big data analytics. Lifelong developer, never became a manager, always was a developer and entrepreneur. And written 2 books on Spark. And this picture is from Mount Shasta Caves. So I meditate when I don't do anything else. And that brings the next topic, right? So whenever it comes to software architecture and design, the principles are everything. In fact, I've written a lot about it. That there was a book, Gang of Four. We all have read that, right? Came in 1994. But now is the era of principles, and there are 2 principles which I love a lot, and they are the Git principle, that is network of trust, and also the Maven principle, convention over configuration, and we'll go deeper into that. But before that, there is another principle which kind of applies more, right? Because when you talk about Git principle or Maven principle, they are more, somebody can say, platitudes, right? But this is what happens. So anyway, so some war stories. Once upon a time, I was working for a web streaming company. At that time, actually, they were not into web streaming. I'm sure you all watch movies or see shows of that company almost on a weekly basis, if not on a daily basis. So at that time, the company was mostly into the DVD business. So we were a small team, 3 developers. My manager became the manager for the first time, and small team. Everybody was doing things on their own, and one fine day, I got a call from my manager, and he said that the senior most developer in the team, he's leaving. I said okay, and then in around week's time, so I was the junior most. There were 2 developers who were there. Both were there for more than a year. So the second developer, he got the responsibility to take care of all the code. I was like, good, okay. Then one Friday afternoon, I get call from my manager that the second developer is going on a week-long vacation, and I'm supposed to take care of the code for both of them. I was like, okay, typically this thing happens all the time, right? That you are given responsibility of somebody else's code. I mean, what can go wrong, right? I mean, something goes wrong, you get enough time, and then you can fix the things and all. So came Monday morning, 6 a.m. I got a call from my manager. Everybody's on the conference call. The whole system is down. So the company, which is now over $100 billion company, so the whole system was down there, and everybody was clueless what was not working. I was like, okay, let me start working on that. So I check out the code in my machine. I try to run it. It doesn't run. It doesn't build. Right. So what happened was, that The code was working on this developer's machine. Uh, He checked it in, missed some parts, and the code was deployed. And here I was there Monday morning. I was clueless about how this code works. There is no way I could, all the guns were pointed at me because I was the only one left there. And there was no way I could debug it or figure anything out. So I was like, okay, let's see what else I can do. So at that time, we used to have a lot of media types. There was a DVD, there was a Blu-ray, there was HD, etc. And we had these media type IDs 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I saw was that there was a media type coming as -1. I was like, that doesn't make any sense from the upstream systems. And on the call, I asked the folks who were managing upstream systems that, do you know why this -1 is coming? They were like, we don't know what's happening here, right? So I said, okay. So there was database team there, and I said, can you guys create a temporary table in which you map these -1s to 1, right? That was the DVD media type. They said, yeah, we can do it. My manager said, Rishi, are you sure? What are you doing? I said, yes. I said, how long is it going to take? They said, 5 minutes. I said, do it. They did it, everything was up and running. Then within 2 hours, the upstream team, and they said, you know what, we did do an update to the system on Friday evening, and that's the reason it happened, and it's going to take us another 48 hours to fix it, right? So that's obviously one example of out-of-the-box thinking, but the bigger problem here is this, that this is another example of testing in production, right? So we have all seen it live in multiple cases. In my case, it happened with, obviously, the company was Netflix, right? So we saw the whole system going down, and obviously, I was able to save that day, but I'm sure there were many more instances, and we have all seen it in our life, right? When we all wait for testing in production. These days, if you talk to a lot of companies, like companies in monitoring and all, like they say, testing in production is the right way to go. And as you guys know, that it is the right way to go until it's not, right? I mean, it's too late to fix any of the problems. So, but there is another paradigm which is also equally talked about, and that is testing in development, right? So, and they call it empowering the developers. I've been a lifelong developer, as I told you. I mean, I never grew up, as somebody would say, right? So, but development is good, but developer is working on his or her limited set of services, and there is no way on earth you can depend on the development environment to battle harden your service, right? So, on one side, you have two extremes, right? You have got testing in production, or you got testing in development. And now let's look at why do we do even any testing, right? So essentially, there's a change. The whole goal of any release is what? Simple. You take a change from development to production, right? That's a simple logic behind it, right? And that's the reason I said that you either the worst place to test are either in development or in production. And but what a change here, right? So what a change is that this change in last few years because of Git has become a first class citizen, and that is in the form of a pull request, right? So earlier you had all these static systems, you would have your QA, you would have your staging and testing and all those things, right? But the key part which was propagating from development to production was a change, right? I mean, change typically happens for two regions. You've got bug fixes and you've got features. So bug fixes are not good, right? So that's the reason, I mean, wherever I see anything written about change these days, they talk about it as a feature, right? So everything is a feature these days, because who wants to fix the bugs, right? Because bugs are bad. But anyway, so this change in the form of pull request is the first class citizen, right? What if what if you base everything on that, right? So when you're creating, so let me give you a parallel here, right? So the parallel here is the branch. So we all, I mean, if you talk to anybody in private, they would tell you that what kind of a nightmare the permanent branches were, right? And now though they completely got rid of the permanent branches, right? So now the branches are short-lived. And why they are short-lived? Because a branch is created only for one purpose, that is to serve the life cycle of a pull request, right? To serve the life cycle of a change. So the argument which we are making here is that in the same way, a pre-production environment also is created to serve only one purpose, and that is to serve a pull request, right? So what if you create a pre-production environment the moment you create a pull request, that environment only is alive during the life cycle of a pull request, and this environment does all the testing, all the validation automatically. It provides you preview URLs for that environment to multiple stakeholders again automatically, and the moment pull request gets merged, this environment dies. And that's what we are exactly doing at Roost, right? So in the Roost, what we are doing is that we are starting when you check in your changes, right? So that's when you create your pull request. At that time, we are looking at your code, at your repo, let's say GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, right? We are going to inspect what you have there, what scripts you have, Docker file, Docker compose, any other scripts. Then we are going to infer based on that, right? So if you look at it as a black box, right? So our black box, the input is your repo, nothing else. We're going to look at your repo. Then looking at your repo, looking at multiple scripts there, we are going to figure out that how your pre-production environment should look like. And then when you create a pull request, we are going to create that environment that's going to automatically do all the testing, all the validation, create URLs available, and then certifies your application. So anyway, that is at the high level about why environments are needed, why pre-production environments have always been treated as a stepchild. In fact, when we talk to a lot of prospects, we were kind of surprised that how these environments are still being created in a very, very bespoke fashion, right? So these environments are still they are pets, they are not cattle, right? So even in the conference, I was talking to some folks, and they were like, "How do you create an environment?" They were like, we create our own environment, so we are happy with it, right? So, and so anyway, so that's that was a high-level overview about this big need. This is a new emerging field, so I thought it's a good idea to come to DevOps Days and educate you all about this big gap. You have all heard about SaaS, software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, but I think this is high time these pre-production environments also get created as a service. So I'll take a pause here and see if anybody has any questions here. And I would also like to know that how are you guys creating environments today? Who is responsible for releases? And any insights, any thoughts you guys have? Cool. If no other questions, I think, yeah, thank you so much for giving me opportunity. We have a booth here on the conference floor, and we would love to set up a demo, show you more, and show you the magic of Roost. Thank you so much.